What's going on, Buff Nation? Welcome back to another video. So as we come up to the last game against Utah, there are some things to kind of take into consideration to think about headed into this offseason, and that is Colorado players that will no longer be wearing a Buff uniform or a college uniform in general because their eligibility has come to an end. Now, we obviously know that we have to be extremely aggressive in the transfer portal for the Buffs to continue to be effective next year in the Big 12 alongside a healthy recruiting class. But now when you hear these names that will be leaving this year, you're going to realize that Coach Prime is going to have to be extra effective in the transfer portal. First being wide receiver Xavier Weaver. I don't think I had to say too much to realize how much of a blow this is going to be to the Colorado Buffs, as he has had one hell of a year for Colorado with 65 receptions, with over 850 yards receiving and 4 tutties across 10 games. So we'll see if he eclipses that 1,000 yards in passing, alongside a couple more tutties as he exits Colorado. But this is going to be a massive blow to that offensive powerhouse that did show some signs of just amazing explosiveness throughout the year. Now, there are some big-time wide receivers that Colorado is looking at, and everybody knows if I'm going to come here, I'm more likely going to play right away, and that is such an intriguing factor to these young guys coming in. Obviously, again, we'll see how he does in the portal, as he was a transfer guy from USF alongside Jimmy Horn Jr. So Coach Prime knows how to pull some guys out, and for this guy to have such a big year in his transfer year, you got to think some big-time wide receivers are going to be, I find what Colorado is able to do very appealing. So I wouldn't be too worked up about it, because I think what his production on the field will sell pretty well to other wide receivers, but it is going to be a big blow. Another is going to be the offensive line. They're going to be losing 3 guys on the offensive line. Now, some of you may be thinking, oh, my goodness, the line sucks anyways. We need to replace them. And you're right. But when you have an area that's weak, and now you have to go replace it, now you have to not only replace the guys that are there, but now you have to replace even more so because you're losing the depth. So I understand this offensive line hasn't been fantastic, but it would have been nice to maybe keep a few of them on staff to be great for depth if the new guys coming in don't really figure it out. It's the second guy through the system. So it is a little bit of a blow. Reggie Young, offensive line, 10 games, 6 games played, only 2 starts. The biggest blow is going to be Landon Beebe. He transferred in from Mizzou State last year with 10 games, 9 games played, and 7 start at left guard. Played that pretty consistently throughout the year. Then they had a walk-on that will be leaving as well. So nothing too dramatic leaving, right? But again, when in a position that's already weak, it always hurts a little bit when more leaving. Next thing is going to be the defensive line. You've got your 3 best players essentially on the defensive line that will be leaving. The other pro to this, though, is all 3 of these guys were transferred into Colorado. So think about that, right? If they all came in and had that much of a productive season in their first year with Colorado, that doesn't mean that Coach Prime can't go out there and replace these guys pretty quickly. Again, being able to show how much of an impact these guys had on this team, you're going to come in right away and you're going to play. But first being will be Leonard Payne Jr., 7 total tackles, 2 tackles for a loss, 2 sacks, and 2 QB hits. Again, he joined in December alongside defensive end Taj Alston. 19 total tackles, 3.5 for a loss, 2 sacks, and 2 QB hits. He transferred in from West Virginia. Definitely been one of the more productive guys. And then edge Jordan Dominic, who looks like to be a phenomenal NFL candidate, came in from Georgia Tech, and he played 1 season at Arkansas. Some big-time talent there playing in the ACC and the SEC. 39 tackles, 8 for a loss, 3 sacks, 1 fumble recovery, and 4 quarterback hits. So a big blow to the defensive line. But again, the pro is all these guys were transfer guys. And you have to understand when you are going into the transfer portal, I know that that's kind of Coach Prime's MO, is really heavily going after that, but you got to think a lot of these guys are going to be one and done for the most part that are coming in. So how are you going to find an identity by constantly rotating? You got to maybe try to find some guys with 2 years of eligibility left. That's probably going to be a focus for Coach Prime this year. So he's not in this, just carousel, this revolving door of players year in and year out, because you're not going to be able to build and sustain success with that constant rotation. Although you will be able to fill it, you're going to find some of the same identity issues that you're currently dealing with now. Next is going to be safety Roderick Ward. He had 48 tackles, 1.5 for a loss, 1 forced fumble, and 1 pass breakup. Didn't play too much early on, but then really found himself and has been one of the more consistent DBs for Colorado as this year has came to a close. And then KVR Smoke, he's done. No more, hasn't really done too much. A transfer from Kentucky, I believe. Thought he was going to be a big factor in this run game, but really never really got it going. Only on special teams. So that will be the end for him. So there's a few more players, but those are some of the big guys that I wanted to go over to reference to say, like, look, these are some big time names that have had a big impact on Colorado's success this year that now Coach Prime and the Buffs are going to have to go out there and replace. So, boys, I'm telling you right now, buckle up, sit tight, relax, because I expect this offseason to be a doozy one. Remember, Coach Prime came in late in December, had a lot to do, a lot of picking up the pieces, and was very active in the portal, obviously, throughout the offseason, very active in recruiting. Now he's going to have a full cycle in. Don't forget, he played at Jackson State last year, or coached at Jackson State last year, coached them in a bowl game, so he was working with that on top of transitioning to Colorado, on top of coaching in that last bowl game. And I made the kind of a preference of saying, like, this bowl game, although I know it's very successful and you want to play in a bowl game and it's big for marketing, it's big for recruiting to be out there, there is a pro of not making it, and it's this right here. The time that he's now going to have to be as effective and the transfer portal and recruiting as possible when you've got other big schools that are going to be having to worry about extra conference games, things like that. Now, I know that's a good problem to have. Don't get it twisted. I'm looking at the silver lining here, okay? I'm looking at the good of out of the evil that is coming out of not making a bowl game. So we'll see how they do it, but I promise you, I would expect the weeks plural, after Thanksgiving to be a spicy one. So be sure to turn the bell on, subscribe, drop a like, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.